Hi, everyone. My name is Margaux. Thank you for joining us today. I'm the manager of customer experience at 55 Degrees, and today we're going to look at Portfolio Forecaster. So, Portfolio Forecaster is one of the great tools that helps you forecast when you will be done with some of your project by using epics or versions. It's only available for Jira Cloud and Jira Data Center, but we hope in the future to bring it to Azure DevOps as well. So let's just jump into where to find it. How does it work? So to be able, I should share my screen too, would be good. So share your screen. To be able to find Portfolio Forecaster, what you need to do first is to go to your project and go to the project you would like to analyze. And then if you scroll down into the left-hand side, you will see Portfolio Forecaster right there. Of course, for you, you would only see one. I see two because I have my staging environment as well. I would like to apologize. Atlassian is having some issues for cloud, which means that it's taking a little bit more time than it should to load. So hopefully, we're not going to have too much issues right now, but please bear with me. I swear, this doesn't take so long when everything works. It's supposed to be pretty fast, actually. Okay, well, while it loads, I can show you some important information that might help you. So for all of our products, we have a great support portal and support platform that contains a lot of information for you. So what you can see is that you can see the different products we have, and we have Portfolio Forecaster. So you can just come here and look through our documentation to what we have, the FAQ. We have some good troubleshooting information. We have a demo that was recorded, and then we have some great release notes. We have a lot of good projects for Portfolio Forecaster, so hopefully I can bring those up a bit later in the day. Perfect. So now that the Portfolio Forecaster loaded, because it runs simulations, right, to do forecasting, of course, you need to set parameters before we can provide you any forecast. So you need to start with telling us, okay, what do you want to analyze? And you can either forecast your epics or your versions. It all depends what you're using in your Jira. So you can just toggle from one to the other right there. For the purpose of this demo, we'll use epics, but it would work in the same way for versions. So first, of course, you also need to tell us, okay, what throughput should we use? What project do you want to analyze? So you need to come first and tell us, okay, I want to look at this project. You can find the list of all the other projects that you have access to. Keep in mind that, and if you're an actual Azure user, you might recognize that you can only load data that you have access to. So for security reasons, we respect Jira permissions. So if you don't have access to a project, you won't be able to find it in this list. Just good to keep in mind. So let's come here. So I want to just look at my customer experience project. I want to look at epics, and then you can add some filtering if you would want to. Exclude some work or by different attributes. So it's telling me now that it found six epic in this project. It's a good way to kind of make sure, are you loading a project when there's some data or not? So I'm going to apply this. Then I need to decide, okay, what am I going to use to forecast? Because now I know, okay, I want to forecast the issues in this project, but what will I use to do those simulations, right? Because that's why it can become a little bit tricky. The ideal, of course, is to use data from the same project, because hopefully you've been completing issues at the same rate or roughly in a similar way than you will do in the future. So that's a good place to start. A problem that I've heard before is that what do you do if it's a brand new project? You have no historical data to use to any type of, to run simulations from. I would say the best way is to try to find a project that's roughly similar enough to start. So you can start by pulling, for example, here I could pull the data from another project, run the simulation and see. But as you work, you will create new data for that new project. So start using that data instead of using the one from the other one, just to make sure that you don't use data that might not be the most accurate for your forecast. So that can be a little bit tricky there. But in my case, I can just with my customer experience data. Another question that arises very often is, okay, I want that I know what do I want to analyze, I know what to use. It's all about how much data do you need? And that's also a bit tricky, because you need to make sure that you have enough data that you can see all the different type of work, especially if you have long cycle time. So make sure that you can catch the whole cycle time of those pieces of work, that you can see the different variations based on time and based on issue types. But what if you change your processes a few months back, and now you have a very big project that contains lots of epics, but 6 months ago you went from no methodology to applying Scrum or Kanban. So you've reorganized how you're doing your work, you're slicing it differently. So you can't really use the data you've used from the beginning of that project, because that doesn't really represent how you're doing work now, right? So know your data, take a deep dive into what's going on with it. And if you're aware that things happen and what's happening in the past 6 months is different from the 6 months before that, make sure that you can come here and only select the data that works for you. So maybe you're only interested in the data from the past 90 days or more. So you can come here, and it's quite flexible, because here it will tell me, okay, in the past 600 days, we found 50 issues that have been completed in that project. So of course, it's nice to have enough data that you might want more, but you don't want to clutter. You don't want to add so much that then you have too many outliers and it's not really representative, because that will have an impact on your forecast later on. So know your data to make sure to know what to use. And then of course you can apply more filter if you would want to. And once you're happy with this, you can press apply. So Portfolio Forecaster gives you a probabilistic forecast. So what it means is that there's always a confidence level and a risk level. So before we can give you a forecast, of course, you need to tell us what confidence level you want the forecast to be given from. So here you can come and select any value. So the highest one is 95, because you can never be 100% sure of an outcome. But you can say, okay, maybe I'm happy with 85% confidence, which means that I'm aware that there's a 15% chance that I might not respect those days, that it might take me longer. So it's good to keep that in mind. So when I have set up my controls and the parameters, I can press Start Calculations. And what it will do now is that it will fetch all of my issues, everything that's in progress, and run 10,000 simulations. And as you can see, it's pretty fast. So the way it works is that basically here you will see all the different epics that are in my project and that are currently in progress. So that means that they are on my board in a status category as in progress. So, and they will come in the order based on the JIRA priorities that you have applied. So here you cannot reorganize them. If you have set a due date on your epics, like, okay, we want that epic done by March 1st, it will show up here. If you haven't set any due date, it will show empty. Then you can see the likelihood that we calculate based on the due date that you have set. So how likely are you to achieve the due date that you have set? And to do that, what we use is, of course, how many items are still open on your epic or version. So here, for example, I have 10 issues remaining. And if I want to achieve my epic by March 1st, the likelihood of it happening is about 30%. And if you look at the last column, what you see is the forecast that we give you based on the Monte Carlo simulation reports and your throughput. So you can see here that you have an 85% chance of completing this epic by March 25th or before. So that's for the forecast. And as you can see here, we have different values. It will show up red when the likelihood is below 50. If it's between between 50 and 70, then it will show in yellow. And of course, if it's good, it would just show as white. Now, how are those calculated and how does it work? So like I said, we use Monte Carlo simulations. And the way they work is that we take, all of your data points and then we start looking at, okay, if you often complete 5 issues per day, or, we look at your throughput, we see the whole different variations of work. And then we simulate work being completed 10,000 times, and then we see the outcome. And here what we do on top of that is that we do cascading Monte Carlo simulations, which means that we do one for this one, and then we see for this one, and then we pull the next one in the list. So here, with March 12th, it takes into account that you will have done some work there and some work there as well. If you click on the item remaining, it will open in Jira the list of all of those issues. Now, like I said before, you can only load data that you have access to. And that's really important because even here, that will have an impact on your forecast. You might have access to the project, but you might not have access to the whole issue, all of the issues on that project. So you might think, okay, there's 8 issues remaining, but maybe there's actually 16, and it's just you don't have access to the others. So of course, your forecast might not represent the whole truth there. So be very careful with that. And if you run the forecast and your colleague is running the same forecast, same parameters, but it looks completely different, you have different values, that might be why. It might be a permissions level reason. Just keep that in mind. So this is great. So now I have my forecast for all of my epics currently in progress. I see information based on my due date, the likelihood, what do I have left, and then my forecast. But we can do more things in Portfolio Forecaster because you might be interested in, okay, but what about all the epics that I have not yet started? What does it look like and what can I do? So if you turn on Show Not Started, you can see the data reloads and now you see a bit more things, right? Because now you will see epics that have not yet started. So you haven't done any work on it. They're not yet in the status categories of in progress on your board. And now you can see these have changed a little bit as well. So what you need to tell us now is like, okay, do you want to limit your WIP? Because your real WIP is 3, because you have 3 items in progress right now. But you might say, okay, I would like to run the simulation if I worked on 4 epics at once. And I still want 85%. But now I'm thinking, this epic, it's really important. So that's going to be my new number 1 priority. So now that I have new setup for my forecast, let's see how that will impact the forecast. So let's keep in mind for my Customer Success Program 2024, my forecasted date is 85% chance of completing it by April 9th or before. If I recalculate, it's telling me now that I have an 85% chance of completing this epic by March the 3rd or before. So you can see that took into account that I have reorganized the order. Because remember, we're doing cascading Monte Carlo simulations. So now that I have set a WIP of 3, we take the top 4 one, sorry. It's like you draw a line, and then you run the Monte Carlo simulations between those 4 ones. And when an epic is done, we pull the next one in the list. So that's how it works. So you can play with this one. Okay, so that's this scenario. But what if instead we say, okay, let's just work on 2 epics, and this one should be my new number 2 priorities. How will that affect my forecast? And you can see things change. The likelihood of achieving, of course, changes based on that order as well. So you can use Portfolio Forecaster to look at your actual forecast, so what's really happening, what you actually have in progress, but also to play around with different what-if scenarios. What will be the impact of increasing or decreasing my WIP? What if I want to be more confident? Or what if I'm allowing more risk? What if I reorganize my epics? It takes all of this into account so that you can look at your actual forecast, but you can also do some pre-work and try to forecast the future, maybe do some planning. Because if you're not really happy with what you're seeing with the forecast or what's happening right now, and you have some pressure to, okay, we need to finish this as well, maybe we need to reorganize, we need to reprioritize our work. That might help you with this. So this is the forecast. But of course, you can always download the forecast as a CSV. So it will show you all the different parameters that you have set. Now that I've played with different what-if scenarios, you might want to reset it, go back to the actual order based on the JIRA priorities that you have set. So it will same recalculate the forecast as well, just based on that order. And then let's say you would like to see, but this looks a bit odd. Is everything there? You can always open your historical data there, and it will show you exactly what we're using for the simulations. So you can see the ID, you can see how it moved through the workflow, the story, the issue types, and so forth. So that's a good way that you can take a deep dive into your data. If you are not happy with the forecast, you have expectations and, your due dates, everything is in the red, you have less than 30% chance every time with your epics, and it might mean that you may have deeper issues and maybe there's more things you need to improve. So in that case, you might need to do more deep dive into the issues themselves. How are you completing issues every day? What's currently in progress, and gain by control over your data? So if that's an issue that you encounter, you can always reach out to us, or I would recommend for you to check out our other tool, Actionable Agile, because what it does is that it takes a deep dive into how you have completed your issues in the past, give you information about your cycle time, your throughput. So it helps you see the smaller picture instead of looking at your whole project in the epics. So that's one way that it can help you. Back on Portfolio Forecaster. Like I mentioned, we have some great documentation available for you if you have any questions about how to do some things. We have explanations about the calculations as well. If you're worried about security, we have some great policies and great security information available on the websites as well. We also created a nice community page that's free for anybody to join and exchange with other people interested in anything related to flow metrics, probabilistic forecasting, and that might be a good place for you to meet up with other people that may have similar issues, or to bring a subject and see how others solve that problem, or just, you may have a great idea and you would like to hear feedback. Feel free to join this community and exchange with them. So this is all for now when it comes to Portfolio Forecaster. I can see I have quite a lot of questions in the chat, so I'm going to take them now, and then I will give you an oral preview of what's coming for Portfolio Forecaster, because we have some great ideas for it that will come up in the next few months. Just checking, because some people also answered some of the chats. I just want to make sure that I'm not redundant. So the first question was, what characteristic of a JIRA issue dataset improve the reliability of forecasters' forecast? I would say it's all about making sure that you don't have too much variety in your data, that you have control about how you've been doing every single pieces of work, that you know what's going on, the age doesn't just explode, that you maybe release work at a cadence, or that you are aware about what's going on. Because if you have this control, it means that for the simulations, when we have this pool of work and just simulate work being completed 10,000 times, that we're using data that's actually matters, that's roughly similar to what you're going to do. That's the first step. Because if you use something that's completely different, or that has so much variety that sometimes it takes 1,000 days to complete something, sometimes one, and there's not a true, there might be a reason, but if there's not one, then the forecast might not be as accurate as it could be, because you have just too much to choose from. I hope that makes sense. Jason, please let me know if you need more question. So I see here, Yes, so how is Forecaster different than Monte Carlo simulations in Actionable Agile? So in Actionable Agile, basically what we do is that we look at your throughput, so the rate at which you have completed work in the past, and it can include all your different issue types. That's for you to use the filters to tell us what to use. And we take all those data points, put them in a big bowl, and then simulate work being done 10,000 times. So just like Portfolio Forecaster. But with Actionable Agile, we will tell you, okay, you have an 85% chance of completing 68 items or more by the 1st of March. We don't know what those 68 issues are. We just give you a forecast and we suspect that those will be roughly similar to what you've done before. So we don't know exactly which issues are. In Portfolio Forecaster, we can see exactly what issues you have. So because we're doing cascading Monte Carlo simulations, then you can get a real forecast based on the real issues that you have in your backlog. I hope that makes sense as well. Please let me know. I'm going to scroll down in the chat to make sure that I see your answer. I'm just scrolling through the different questions as well. Okay, so I see different questions from Jason as well about having different teams in it. So the thing is that, let's say you want to forecast the completion of different epics from one project, and then you may have different teams working on different epics. If you have this repartition, like, the same type of work was done by the same teams, roughly the same way in the past, then you should be able to trust the forecast, right? Because the context is not changing much. But I would be careful if you include too many teams that works completely different way, if you can't pinpoint which issues was done by which team, because that might have a negative impact on your forecast. And by negative, I'm not saying that it will make it worse. It might just make it less accurate. So don't try to compare everyone. Like, don't run Monte Carlo simulation with one team to see how fast it will be versus the other one. That's never really good. You can't compare apples to bananas, But hopefully that would work if you have that set up in your historical data as well. And keep in mind that a forecast is just a snippet of time. So run your forecast, see what's happening, check in a few more days, how is it evolving, and try to see, okay, does this work? Does it looks like the reality or not? And then I think that would help. It's a bit hard to tell without having more details. So Jason, I hope I answered all your questions. Please let me know in the chat just to make sure. So Vinicius, you're asking if we will have a standalone version. So this is on our roadmap. We are considering it. Just we don't have an ETA yet. We don't know when that will be available. But yes, that's what we're thinking about. We also would like to bring it to Azure DevOps. So for anyone who uses Actionable Agile in Azure DevOps, we would like to bring Portfolio Forecaster there as well. That might be by the end of the year. I don't know yet. I can't do any promises, but we will soon release a roadmap with more details once we know. But that's what we're hoping for. Right now, what we will start working on very soon is actually a Portfolio Forecaster 2.0 that will have way more features, because we will store the forecast, so not the data themselves, but just we will be able to see how the forecast has changed over time, so that you can see, is it getting better? And then, oh no, it's getting worse. And then you've done some changes, and then you can say, okay, it's getting better again. So it's to help you with the whole project management as well. You will be able to get the forecast sent to you via email, maybe not on release, but shortly after. The whole point is to make it easier for you to get the forecast, so that you can define your different teams, get forecast for the team, forecast for the whole portfolio. So stay tuned. We will share more information about it very soon. So next question. Can we aggregate data by other hierarchy items set on Jira above Epic? Not at the moment, but that's something we will look at for the 2.0. So at the moment, we can only use the standard issue types. So Epic, stories, subtasks. I know we have a few users, quite a lot actually, that use non-standard issue types that by using the SAFe methodology and other ones. So we're working on it. Hopefully that will be ready in the next few weeks. Sorry. So more information to come about that too. Okay. Thank you, Jason. Sorry, I was just reading your comment. So that would be, yes, exactly. Thank you, Julia. I was going to bring the process behavior chart. So this is actually in Actionable Agile. So let me just show you. So that's our other product. And it's a brand new chart that's currently available as a beta feature. So this is Actionable Agile, our standalone version, but it's available for Jira Cloud, Data Center, and Azure DevOps. No matter the versions, you have the same charts. Just know that in Data Center, you don't yet have the beta features. Once they're ready, we will just release them to you in production. So if you come here, we can see we have different charts and we have a process behavior charts. So these charts will help you see the different signals between what's noise and what's not, what was really outliers, and help you make better decision into what data to include or not. So we also have some great documentation. So let me just drop that for you in the chat. I will give you the link to the standalone version, but you can easily navigate back to the version that you have based on where you are. So I just realized I was not sharing my screen. Let me do that again. Sorry, guys. So this is Actionable Agile. And so like I said, you have the drop down with the different charts. You can see which one are in beta, and we have the process behavior charts. So on this chart, you can see the different signals, and you can decide, okay, what do you want to see, the large one, the moderate signals. So we have a lot of information, and we have great documentations as well, with the link to Daniel Vacanti's book, because he wrote a new book that's all about process behavior. Probabilistic forecasting is kind of a nice follow-up to Actionable Agile, advanced predictability. So just check our documentation, and hopefully you will find some good information there for you. So you have the chart, the information right there. Nice. I hope that will help. I think. Okay. Nice. So, do you have any more questions? Because I think I've gone through everything I had in the chat. But, this webinar is recorded, and you will receive an email very soon with the replay. So you can always rewatch it. If you have more questions, you can always reach out to us through our support portal. I saw your question, Ricardo. I'm just going to drop the link to our support portal first. Right there. And we will make sure to answer any of your questions. Can we aggregate data by other hierarchy items set on Jira above Epic? Not at the moment. We only look at the Epic level, other versions. So we don't have features or initiatives yet. In the 2.0 version, exactly, you will be able to have more flexibility with what parents and what issue types you want to include. So we hope to have more information about the 2.0. So we'll run another webinar like this one once we are ready. And we can actually show you some real in-app changes. So stay tuned. So we will share those webinars like here, like when we have new ones in our newsletter. So I would recommend for you to join the newsletter. But also, if you go to our website, should share my screen so I can show you too. So you can come to our website and you see we have an event page, and you see all the different events that we have planned so far. So we will, of course, add more once we are ready. So I will drop this link as well in the chat. So feel free to save this link. So yeah. Does Jira Cloud offer beta access to the process signal chart? Yes, it does. So let me just show you. Let me share my screen as well. Entire screen. So let me just go to Actionable Agile. My apologies. So this is Actionable Agile, and this time we are in cloud. So all you have to do to turn them on is to come to the little lab control button, come down, make sure that you turn on the beta features, and then just reload the app. And now that it's reloaded, you will see that you have all the other charts. So you have the chart that already existed, but that we're improving. But you will find as well in the process stability insights, the new chart, the process behavior chart. And then you can use the different controls to turn on the different things that you may want to see as well. I just would like to emphasize that those are currently beta features, which means that you might find some strangeness, things might be a bit broken. So just let us know. And then, of course, we will do our best to fix them. So reach out to us through support if anything is broken, seems strange. We are working really hard on making them ready so that in the next few weeks, we can push those out to general release and everybody will have access to them. And if you have any questions, we're there to help you as well. So just reach out to us as well. All right. Any more questions, guys? No? Perfect. Then in that case, I would like to thank you all for joining and have a nice day. Reach out to us if you have any questions. We're there to help you, and have a nice day. Bye.